Welcome to the Fight IQ podcast. I'm back with another episode. Today, I'm going to be going through every weight class from flyweight to heavyweight and giving you, in my opinion, the most forgettable fighters from each weight class. Now, they're going to be the top 15. I'm only choosing fighters in the top 15 because obviously it'd be easy for me to just pick a random fighter who just debuted or whatever that most casual fans obviously wouldn't know who they are. But if you have a number next to your name, people should know who you are. You're the top 15 of the best in the sport in your division. Most people, even if you're not a hardcore fan, they should know if you have a number next to your name. But you'll see what I mean as I explain each fighter that I'm choosing for each weight class. Now let's start off with flyweight. My choice for flyweight, Tagir Ulanbekov. Now, I will say a lot of these fighters, including Tagir Ulanbekov, it's a matter of inactivity. Some of these guys just don't fight enough for most fans to really know who they are. And Tagir is one of those guys. He fights once a year. He's got no KOs. He's 16-2, 0 KOs. Now, he's kind of, in my opinion, kind of like one of these Makayev type fighters where he is very good. If you're fighting him, you know it's going to be a tough fight, but he's got no KOs, and he's kind of like this methodical type fighter where it's not really exciting until he finishes you with a submission. He doesn't really have a super fan-friendly style, but I will say with Tagir, it's more of a matter of his inactivity. He really only fights once a year. I think in 2022 he had 2 fights, but other than that, dude's been in the UFC for I think 5 years and has 6 fights, I think. So that's my choice for flyweight, Tagir Ulanbekov. Let's move up to bantamweight. Montel Jackson. Now I know some people will be like, oh, well, he just fought recently, so I know who he is. He just beat Daniel Marcos. Was it very exciting? No, it wasn't. He got the win, and I think this is another product of inactivity. He's a super quiet dude, too. I think like a lot of his lack of popularity is because no one's ever heard this dude talk. I have no idea what he sounds like. He could sound like Joaquin Buckley. He could sound like fucking Jordan Levitt. I have no fucking idea what this dude sounds like. He doesn't do anything to promote himself, although he is easily one of the most talented dudes in the entire UFC. Definitely in the bantamweight division. I know bantamweight's not super hot right now in terms of excitement and like clear number one contender for the title and all that. But Montel Jackson is very good. I think he's one of the best in the division. And I think he will continue to win. And, you know, he should get a higher ranked guy at this point, probably someone in the top 10 just based off skill alone. But I think he needs to do a better job at promoting himself because although he's in the top 15 and he's been in the UFC for a long time, and I think now he's like 9-2 in the UFC after his last win, something like that. Most people don't, unless you're a hardcore fan, you don't know who Montel Jackson is. I can promise you that. Casual fans do not know Montel Jackson, which is crazy based on his skill level. But that's my pick for bantamweight. Let's move up to featherweight. Arnold Allen. I hate to pick, honestly, I was looking through the featherweight division. I didn't want to pick Arnold Allen, but you got to pick Arnold Allen. He's another guy who's just super quiet. He has an exciting style, but he's not really good at one specific thing. You know, these guys who are just kind of like jack of all trade but master of none, these guys I feel like get lost in it all. You know, because there's so many people, exciting people in this sport that if you're not doing crazy shit or you're not fighting like 3 or 4 times a year, you're just going to get lost in the roster and people aren't really going to remember you. You got people who aren't even necessarily as good at winning as Arnold Allen, like a Barboza, let's say. But Barboza is going to be remembered forever because of his exciting wins, his spinning wheel kick TKOs. You know what I'm saying? Over Terry Adams specifically, people are going to remember forever. But if you're not out there doing, even if you're winning, if you're not fighting super often and you're not doing crazy shit like spinning wheel kicks like Barboza, you're just not going to get remembered. You're going to get lost in time, unfortunately for Arnold Allen. And the fact that he's so quiet and doesn't really talk shit, and all these factors are just kind of working against him in when it comes to being remembered by the fans. So that's why Arnold Allen is my pick for featherweight. Now, let's go up to lightweight. My pick for lightweight, Beneil Dariush. Again, I didn't want to pick Beneil Dariush. He's extremely talented. But the fact of the matter is, Beneil Dariush, I just think, is not exciting enough. In my head, the most memorable Beneil Dariush moment is when he came back from being hurt against Drakkar Klose. And that's really not, it's not something that you want to be your most memorable moment. Oh, I got hurt by Drakkar Klose and then I came back and knocked him out. Really not the most exciting, memorable moment. But that's why, that's ultimately why I'm picking Beneil Dariush for this. He just doesn't have enough memorable moments. And listen, he went on an 8-fight win streak against guys like Tony, Drew Dober, Mateusz Gamrot. These are guys who are at the top of the division, and he's getting good wins over these guys. And like I said, he was on an 8-fight win streak, but he's not exciting to get remembered. Listen, he was scheduled to fight. Listen, all right, if you need another reason to believe me, he was scheduled to fight Moicano, right? On that card where Islam was supposed to fight Arman, and then Arman pulled out with an injury. Beneil was not even an option. Can you guys agree with me that Beneil, all right, it was either between Beneil and Moicano. We knew who they were going to pick. They were obviously not going to pick Dariush. Like, Dana was pretty much like, what? Who's that? Beneil? Yeah, now we're putting Moicano in there. Like, I'm pretty sure Dana forgot that Beneil was even on that card. Like, he was so far from being an option for the title shot. It was kind of laughable. But all those reasons, this is why I picked Beneil Dariush as the lightweight in the top 15 who's most forgettable. Now, let's move on to 170. This might be a controversial one, but I'm sticking with it, okay? I'm standing my base here. I'm sticking to my guns. Belal Muhammad. You guys are going to have recency bias and, oh, he was the champ. He just had an exciting fight with Jack Della Maddalena. Dude, he had to give himself the nickname of Remember the Name because nobody could remember this guy. He was champion. And do you guys remember that event where he was champ shortly after he beat Leon, and he was trying to get into the UFC, into the octagon to do a face-off with somebody, and the UFC staff had to stop him at the octagon. The UFC staff literally didn't know that he was the champion. They didn't know who he was. They didn't recognize him. And he was the champion at the time. I mean, I can tell you how many YouTubers I've watched that when they were going through all the weight classes and talking about the champions, they couldn't recall who the 170 champ was. And sure, there are other fighters who we haven't thought a lot about lately and aren't in a ton of conversations, like Jeff Neal or Vicente Luque. But when you're the champion of the division and people struggle to remember you, enough said. You know what I mean? That's all I need to say right there. So 170, Belal Muhammad, most forgettable fighter in the top 15. Now let's move on to 185. Roman Kopylov. He's just overall forgettable. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. He's another dude he's talented, but he's not a specialist, and he's not exciting enough to get remembered. And making this list, I literally forgot he was in the top 15. And the most notoriety he gets is for kind of looking like an evolved Pokemon version of Chase Hooper. But promotion-wise, that's really all he's got going for him. If he's got an upcoming fight against Paulo Costa, if he can win in dominant fashion, maybe that'll throw him into the minds of some UFC fans. But let's be real, he's really forgettable. It doesn't help him that he's a Russian fighter who doesn't speak English, and in the big American market that the UFC is, that doesn't help you. But yeah, he's just not exciting enough, to be honest with you. And let's move up. I got two more, obviously. In the light heavyweight division, my pick for most forgettable fighter, Azamat Murzakanov. This one almost doesn't really make sense. He should be more known. He's undefeated. He's got something like a 70% KO rate. He's got great striking offense, great striking defense. But he's overall he's really unassuming, and he hasn't been given any big fights yet. And that's probably because he seems to pull out of most of his fights. He's had some big fights scheduled, but something happens and he pulls out more than half of the fights. His fights get canceled. But he's 4-0 in the UFC. He's got 3 KOs, and they're giving him Brenson Ribeiro next. Brenson Ribeiro arguably should not be in the UFC. Why is Brenson Ribeiro first off, on the other side of it, why is Brenson Ribeiro getting a top 15 fighter? Is light heavyweight just that bad at the moment that we're giving Brenson Ribeiro a shot at the top 15? Or is it just that Azamat Murzakanov, he's in the top 15 because of how good he is, but he pulls out of fights and he's just kind of unassuming and not really in the minds of UFC fans. Either way, that fight literally makes no sense to me. But, I think because of all his fights getting canceled and his inactivity, I think that's a big reason why he's not really in the minds of UFC fans. And I think they're kind of giving him the Arman Sarukian treatment because of he basically fights once a year and pulls out of more than half of his fights. But, fans have recency bias, and because of that, Azamat Murzakanov just kind of gets put off by the wayside. Let's move up to our final. I know I kind of ran through these really quickly, but a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory. But let's just move up to our last forgettable fighter in the heavyweight division, Martin Buday. Martin Buday is so fucking funny looking to me. To be honest with you, for my choice for the heavyweight division, this could have been anybody from number 11 to 15 because heavyweight has such a lack of talent. But I chose Martin Buday. I feel confident, honestly, saying that 75% of people who watch the sport legitimately couldn't name a single fight of his. Go ahead. Without looking it up right now, comment below 2 Martin Buday fights. I challenge you. 2 Martin Buday fights. That's it. He's built like there's a little creature inside of his chest controlling his body, like that alien from Men in Black, which really has nothing to do with this list. I just thought it was funny. That's it. There's nothing. He's so forgettable. I can't even really say much about Martin Buday other than casual fans have zero clue who he is. I can guarantee you that. And hardcore fans, I bet you didn't even know he was in the top 15. Unless you're looking at the UFC website every day, I guarantee you didn't know he was in the top 15. So these are my picks for the most forgettable fighters in each division. Let me know what you think in the comments if these are good picks for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Adios.
What fighter has the highest fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His IQ
the
is
highest
insane.
fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.